I came from a rich background of like Oceania. And when I say that, look, there's not much esports over there, or at least there wasn't in the early days. Back in 2014, my friend Nick found this post on a forum, and Pastry Time was saying, you know, we've got a Challenger series coming up and we're looking for casters. So I went and applied to it with a YouTube video I had, which is like a really, really bad solo cast of a Blitzcrank with a very dirty name, like really dirty name. And I said it a couple of times, but somehow Pastry Time still took to it and said, you know, it's not bad. It was garbage, but you know, he was being nice. Went through an interview, he was happy, went to Benji, it was the second interview around, and the two of them sat down with me in a room and said, you know, congratulations. You got the gig. And I was like, wow, cool. I was so overwhelmed because it's like, I don't know really what I'm doing. Like, I've never done this before, nor did I think it was a career. That was 2015 OCS with Rusty. That was my first ever cast, which, you know, bad things happened on that cast, or at least the second day of it with a good old headset, which is not ideal. But from there, yeah, lots of OCS with, you know, Riot Games Oceania and then ESL Australia, back to Riot Games OCE, Throwdown at some point as well. And then that kind of got me into other games and expanding out to like Rocket League with Gfinity, and lots of different companies, made lots of different friends. And then throughout the years, you know, that experience built up to the end of 2018, applying to LPL through people like Rusty, ironically, and Raz, and talking to them and saying, hey, you know, I'm very interested if there's ever a position available. One became available, and then I went through a lengthy interview process to eventually end up here in China. Okay, this is a good question because I really like Quickshot's style of casting. It's this unique, like, hey, let me inform you at the same time, let me entice you with some of my, you know, like facts, quick stats. There's other things in there as well. It's like the way he puts his accent on words, and I'm not talking about his, you know, like South African accent, I'm talking how he actually brings out his accent and strength of his words. And then there's someone like Captain Flowers who has the punchy energy. Like, I was talking about this to you the other day, like the Claky D play in USA versus Canada was just such a powerful moment. So those are two casters I kind of aspire to be like because of the way they talk in games. I know with like Quickshot it's a big, deep, meaningful discussion because the way he casts is, you know, like a couple of pages long and how you can actually break it down. The same can be said with Captain Flowers, but it's easy to off the top of your head, just go like, he's punchy, he's strong, he's powerful. And I think that's really important because being impactful in a cast is something that makes people remember you. My identity kind of sits towards being like the cheeky devil of a caster. You know, some cheeky Australian who maybe sometimes shouldn't say the things he says, but does anyway. Which, I mean, can be an issue, but you know, like I'm not crossing the line. I'm keeping it straight. But I'm still looking for my, you know, I guess my 100% identity at this point in time. I don't want to model it off someone else, you know, because I want to be my own caster, I want to be unique, but at the same time, like, I know there's certain qualities that other casters in the main environment have at the moment that I can definitely take away. I spent it playing League of Legends for 2 weeks straight. I literally did nothing in the Chinese New Year. People go to me like, how was your Chinese New Year? And I'm saying, yeah, man, it was great. Like, I loved it. I did so much. I went out drinking a couple of times. I went out and I caught up with Fish. He used to be on the LPL, Dom as well. A couple other guys over from the FPX team. Really nice guys. So met some new people. But apart from that, yeah, legitimately, just played League of Legends, like sorted out my house and kind of got accustomed to life in China a bit more because ever since I arrived on the 2nd of January, I've just been going non-stop. And this was the time that I could actually sit back and go like, let's congratulate myself. And that was the whole basis of my Chinese New Year. So it was Jake's New Year, you know, hysterical. Ooh, it's good. It's really good because it's so much better than I thought it would be. It's cheap. It's, for me, it's like relaxing. Everything's walking distance, well, kind of. The train system, which I've already taken, is really easy to understand. The DDs are cheap, which are like even better. Like, man, getting an Uber from my house to the airport back in Australia was like hundreds of dollars. Getting it from like my house to the airport, which is like similar distance, is like 20 bucks worth, 20 Australian bucks. And I'm like, well, that's great. I really want to learn the language. That's kind of my big, I guess, shock, is that not learning the language has impacted me the most, but I feel fine. I'm actually not culture shocked, which is the biggest surprise out of anything. Oh, my dog and my family. Sorry, my family and my dog. No, I should say, I'm sorry, Mum. I'm sorry, Dad, and sister, and family, and sister, and husband, and niece. I'm just gonna go through the whole family in this, right? I miss my family because I'm big family orientated. That's why I love China for that aspect. Is that everyone's close. Like, family is everything, and I can resonate with that quite a lot. Like, I have a large family. I believe that family values represent, how a person's life, truly is. You have a strong family. You have strong values, but strong vows. But yeah, like family has been the biggest thing. Like my puppy back home as well, my Labrador. I miss her quite a lot. So yeah, it's definitely the family aspect. Yes and no. I am starting to hate solo queue. So I'm playing in Ionia because that is the server to play in. One, because they said it was the hardest, but two, they also said like it's the most popular server. I do not think that I'm playing at my best in solo queue at the moment. It's interesting when, from a caster's perspective, you get very frustrated easily because you know what is right and what you should do when, but then you put it into action, and suddenly all your ideas run out the window. You go like, I'm gonna do dragon, like at 25 minutes, right? No vision, the whole enemy's pushed. I'm a jungle master yi. I can't 1v5 yet, I'm behind, but dragon's a good idea. Like, dumb things like that in the back of your mind, you're like, let's just do it. Screw it, let's just do it. It's things like that I have trouble putting all my theory and a lot of my practice into the actual game. But then I go back to being support, and I go back to being something that's a little bit more passive and a little bit more safe. So yeah, I know, like, or Scale, for example, like Vladimir, I can do that. I'm like, cool, let's look around the map. And my brain's thinking it's going fast again. So it's not going great. I'm silver 1 at the moment. But to be fair, I placed in bronze 4 after going 8 and 2 in promos and having I think my KDA was 6 on Karma. So I played 10 games of Karma straight support, and I got bronze 4, and I was like, well, and then I just kept going and going, skipped bronze 3, skipped promos, bronze 2 to bronze 1, bronze 1, skipped promos, silver 4, skipped promos to silver 2. And then I slowed down after that because I stopped playing support. I started mucking. I'm like, let's just go for it. But I'll get back into my Orianna, my Karma, mid and support, and we'll see how we go. Hopefully it should be gold, which is the new platinum. So technically. Okay. So if you're talking about solo queue, or first of all, before we go to the competitive side of it, in solo queue, people just want to fight. It's literally like LPL. It's like people just want to fight all the time. It doesn't matter if it's a good idea or not. In solo queue, they're like, you know what? Let's just go for it. And like LoL Oceania, Silver 1, people are too scared, or there'll be one person who thinks they're a mechanical genius, and they just jump in. And you're like, well, please don't. Please stop. But here it's like everyone's all the way in. And then it makes you angry because you're like, all you had to do was wait 5-10 minutes. All you had to do was wait for this item power spike. Vladimir with one item's like, we're doing it now. And he's like 500 gold off his Zhonya's, or his, Spellbinder or whatever. And you just go, why? Just wait, just be patient. There's no patience in China. Whereas I think in Australia, at least solo queue, especially it's harder because I don't have the ability to communicate in Chinese solo queue, so I always miss out from being like, hey, just wait for this. I was always like I've always been a strong talker, but even in game through text. But if we compare the esports side of things, like it's night and day even more. Like the individual mechanical skill of the Chinese players is insanely better. Like the only person, I look back at Oceania, I'm like, there are still very good players in their own right, but they don't match anywhere near to someone like Knight. Like I'm looking at Knight, I'm looking at like the whole of the IG lineup, you know, new TOP, as I mentioned Knight before. You have Suning, which aren't doing so well. Like I can go through top 16 teams and say, I think this person's better than pretty much everyone in Oceania. And that's not a testament to the skill of Oceania itself, it's because it just doesn't get the experience that China gets. I mean, through LDL, through like all these teams, there's 16 teams for God's sakes. It doesn't matter if it's like a single round robin. Like, just doesn't matter. They just get so much experience against some of the best players in the world. So it's night and day easily with competitive, and I think that's always going to be the case. It's between Oriana and Karma for sure. Like Karma's like amazing because like back when she had her damage, like back when her damage was insane and her shield was insane and it was Ardent Sense meta, I was like, Karma's free win. Like Karma was actually just free win, and I'm ashamed I didn't play more games. Oriana though is just game changing. And I think she's always going to be game changing, and she's always been a champion that like I get behind and I go, wow, this champion is just so OP. Like, why is this shockwave so good? It's just so darn good. So it's definitely between those two, but I wish I played heaps of Kled, like Kled, because Kled is just fun. Kled is literally my playstyle. All right, boys, we're going in. We're not stopping. You want to get out? Well, too late. You know, like, you want to get out? No, you're not going anywhere. So, but for now, Oriana Karma for sure. Okay. The okay. Literally the okay. Ooh. At the start of Split it was Suning, because I think just mechanically I was like, wow, this team looks so structured. It's FPX for sure. Man, their first 15 minutes, if you break it down between, like starting with Tien's jungle pathing, and then you go all the way through to like, oh, like Doomby's pushed his lane up, he's roaming again. Hang on, where's Gimgoon? Like Gimgoon for some reason is moving as well. And LWX and Crisp, actually, pretty sure the longest standing duo in the world. So, like, there is insane potential for this team to grow even further, and they're already great. So FPX is so chaotic, and I love it. That and TOP used to have a very strong early game where they're just powerful. Like you find XX in your lane, like they're, I think as Raz and Clement put it, they're a young IG who have yet to kind of define themselves in 2019. But they're top of the standings at the moment. So TOP are absolutely fantastic. But it's FPX for sure. FPX, and then I take a step back and I go, all right, because of like the history of the last year, who do I find more exciting? And I go RNG and IG. And then when you put them together, which is coming up, which I hope I get to cast, man, RNG and IG excite me. Like even more than FPX, just because of the history, but on an individual scale, like FPX at the moment for sure. With 16 teams and 12 being competitive, WE are a dark horse. Should they be? I think it's arguable to say no, but Post and Beishang, still underrated after their recent performance. Beishang had a great early game. Like his first 10 minutes of his game have been great. He has a repetitive gank path. Like he will go top or bottom 5 minutes into the game, and you just look like every single game, Gragas, Aatrox, you're like, cool, really early game, like busted champions. Because like, you know, Gragas, his level 3 is insane. Like Aatrox as well, even new Aatrox. His level 3 is still great. You know, it's like chain CC. And his passive, just like, you just stab someone in the neck. So there's a lot of potential in the jungler, and Post has expanded his champion pool. Post has been on the rise as, you know, one of the, you know, getting to be a better top lane. He's definitely not there because our top lane pool is insane. And it's just like all these new top laners like Post. Like, I mean, technically 369, but 369 is already up there just because of his recent performance and because of what happened in Demacia Cup where he just styled. And, you know, they took down IG 2-0 in the semi-finals and then went to the grand finals and we're like, oh wow, 369 as he took over Moya. So the top lane pool is really insane. I think Post is moving into them, being a Poppy player, and Poppy players are in, you know, they're the thing, they're the hot new take in the LPL at the moment. I think WE Dark Horse. I don't rate Victory 5 anymore. I think Victory 5, not this split, is kind of my response. But WE for me are the dark horse. Sunny shouldn't be a dark horse, but at the moment they have to be. They just need to be a horse. Like, I don't know, a normal horse. That's what Sunny need to be. You know, I'll put some, you know, secret money on WE. Doing voiceover work and trying to get into film, acting and television. I used to do some extra stuff back in Australia where I'd go and sit on like runs of TV shows and just being an extra character, like nothing special, it wasn't always paid as well. But I wanted a lot of experience in television and like film. I never got into the film side because my acting is hot garbage. And if I ever moved out of casting one day, I'd look at it again very seriously. But I didn't kind of know, like, if 100% like I was good for acting, like how long would I put in, what would my result be? Because I find myself to be a very hard worker. I put in a lot of effort, and if I don't get the result I think is worth the hard effort, doesn't mean I give up. It just means like I have to evaluate and see what's realistic. But I would have liked to really hit voiceover and get that properly toned, like make a career out of it. But still in Australia, it's still hard. So I'm glad it ended up being casting because, man, I'm not sure how that other career would go, career path. I really love the LEC. So a lot of people, a lot of friends I know from Oceania, they talk about LCS quite a lot, and I don't see the LPL being closer to LCS than LEC. A lot of fighting in LEC. There's a lot of excitement. Puts it in like tip of the iceberg, right? So for me, LEC was always like a region I wanted to go to. At the start of 2017, I went through a small interview process and was unsuccessful into joining back then EU LCS. And I found it to be like, when I was going through that stage, and when you go through an interview for like for League of Legends, for like a premier region or whatever, of course you're going to study up on the region. And back then I was studying quite a lot on EU LCS, now LEC, and I like loved the gameplay. It was so exciting. I fell in love with Unicorns of Love. I loved Power of Evil. I love Xerxes, and I even though I think Power of Evil's old, Unicorns of Love, I get so confused. But I absolutely loved that team, and I was like, wow, this is exciting. There's so much excitement in LEC over in EU. So EU is somewhere where I'm like, I would always one day like love to, even for just like one cast or two, just cast over like an EU region, because I think they closest represent the LPL, because like LCK does. LCK is a very different style. You take Griffin out of the equation, which people say is more relevant to an LPL style, which I more or less agree with. But LEC sits as like really, as like one of my favorite regions. I will always watch the LCK first though. Like I'll go LPL, LCK, because they're the closest in terms of maybe stylistic choices with champions, and maybe because like we have a lot of Koreans in our region, and you know, do they bring that stylistic choice over? Well, not always, but I'll know if they do because I have the reference of the LCK. Then I'll jump over to the LEC. I'm sorry, NA, LCS. I'm sorry, LCS. I'll get there. And OPL, I guess. I should have said that first. I do watch OPL. I still watch, and I will watch OCS. I will watch OCS. Got to support my boys. Got to support the Challenger Series, the lads. That's where it all started.
What we do here is go back.
Okay, so for casting, and I mean this is a goal. This is obvious. I want to work towards making a world's final, which is going to be hard. Like I really like setting high goals and high expectations, and when I don't hit them, understanding why I don't hit them and how I can get better. I'm very competitive, and I love being challenged to a point of like, this is impossible for you. If someone came up to me and said like, you know, I'm saying now I want to hit the world finals for cards. That means I have to be the best play-by-play in the world. I have to beat people like Quickshot, Captain Flowers, you know, even like Medic is getting better and better. Medic sounds fantastic. Dracos as well. I'm just gonna name all the play-by-plays like Freak, Rivington. You know, I gotta keep on going. Like there's, I'm sorry if I've forgotten anyone, but there's so many, you know, of course Atlas, like, you know, I gotta go through Voldes and all that as well. So there are so many good play-by-plays, and Pastry Time, sorry, I'm still going. There's so many good play-by-plays in the world, and for me to get a world final, it's like the most competitive thing ever. You know, it might not happen ever, might not happen for 4 or 5 years, but something I want to work towards, and something to be the most entertaining and the most uniquely, the most unique caster in the world would be ideal for any esport, really. So I set really high goals. Of course, I have miniature goals that work my way there. I want to make play-ins at some point soon, or you know, sometime soon. But I really like entertaining people. So I want to see what appeals to the audience, and that's how I'll kind of get to those big goals. But yeah, sorry I got carried away. What was the last part of the question?
What are your goals for casting and for the broadcast?
For the broadcast, okay. LPL is kind of finding its feet back after, you know, there was a lot of change in the casting talent, and now it's just Raz and Clement. Joining a new team like this, my goal is to find really good synergy with Clement and Raz. I think I'm getting there, but there's like it's a new casting duo. It's a new cast of me to find. You know, let's compare T-Gun from Challenger Series and promotion tournament from last year. Is Tegan and I found this rapport because Tegan and I had talked together before, but it just came off like very sporadic, and it was just very random because of the way Tegan was. It's a lot harder because like Raz is super intelligent, so is Clement, and I am just, you know, I'm in the midst of two kind of like League of Legends geniuses, and I have to keep up. So that's kind of my goal, is to make sure that my information adds to theirs and makes a broadcast like wholeheartedly this place of learning, but also place of great entertainment at the same time. That's my first goal, and then I'll see how we go from there.